The Weight of a Stopped World, Part 3. Before we begin, if you need to catch up on the story, the links to Part 1 and Part 2 are right below this video in the description box. When we last left Marcus and Lena, they were escaping the suffocating pressure of the city, heading straight for the neon chaos of Las Vegas. But behind them, the shadows are growing longer. Vince has just hired Haim, a man who doesn't stop until he finds what he's looking for. The clock is ticking, even when the world stands still.
They checked in. The room was on the 9th floor, wide and clean, with the strip laid out below the window like something that couldn't decide if it was beautiful or absurd, and had settled on both. Lena ran a full circuit of the room immediately. Bathroom, closet, minibar, window, bed, back to the minibar. "There's a bathtub," she announced. "I see that," Marcus said, setting down the bags. "A large one." Lena. "I'm just noting it," she said, "for the record." They ordered food and sat at the table by the window, the city blazing below them, and made plans the way they made most things. Her talking, him thinking, both of them arriving somewhere neither had started. "Tomorrow, we just look," Marcus said. "Walk the floor. No watch. Just see how it works." "I know how it works," Lena said. "You know blackjack?" "Blackjack, roulette, craps," she said, pulling apart a bread roll. "My uncle ran a poker night every Friday for 15 years. I was dealing by the time I was 12. Marcus looked at her. "What?" she said. "Nothing," he said. "Just, of course you do."
"You played anything before?" "Slots," he said. "Occasionally, with friends." She looked at him with the gentle compassion of someone hearing something sad. "Slots," she said. "They're straightforward," he said. "They're straightforward the way a mousetrap is straightforward," she said. "Tomorrow, I'll show you how the real games work. We observe, we learn the floor, we find the right tables." She pointed her fork at him. "And then the day after, we go to work." "We're not calling it work," he said. "The house is," she said. "By the time we're done." Marcus picked up the watch from the nightstand where it had been sitting all evening. "Reese was in our room while we slept," he said. "Sitting in that chair for who knows how long." "I know," Lena said. "If that had been Vince?" "I know," she said again, more quietly.
He turned the watch over in his fingers. "It can't leave our bodies. Either of ours. Ever." "Agreed," she said. "But a watch on a wrist can be unbuckled, pulled off in a crowd, fall off and sleep." "We need a chain," Marcus said. "Through the crown. Around the neck. Run it through the sleeve to the wrist for daytime. Into a shirt pocket or jacket pocket when needed. To the belt and into the pants pocket as a backup option." Lena nodded slowly. "And for sleep, wrist with something extra. Not just the buckle." "A wrap," Marcus said, "between the thumb and index finger. Simple, tight, you'd wake up before anyone got it loose." "And the button," she said. "Whatever we add can't slow down access to it. Half a second is already too long sometimes." "It won't," he said. "The wrap leaves the case completely free." He turned the watch over again and looked at the case carefully, then stopped. "Look at this," he said. Lena leaned over. On the side of the case, almost flush with the metal, a small ring. Seamless, perfectly integrated. So unobtrusive they had both handled the watch dozens of times without registering it as anything separate from the design. "It was always there," Lena said. "Always," Marcus said. "Emil put it there. We just never thought about it that way." She looked at it for a moment,
He thought of everything, she said. Almost everything, Marcus said. We still need a chain. Tomorrow, Lena said. There's a jeweler in the casino arcade. I saw it when we came in. She paused. I see all jewelers when I come in somewhere. It's a condition. Of course it is, Marcus said. The wrap, Lena said. What kind? There's a wrist support wrap, Marcus said. The elastic kind. Drugstores carry them. People use them for sprains. Tight enough to hold, comfortable enough to sleep in. He looked at the watch. Watch goes under it, flush against the wrist. Nobody sees it. Nobody gets to it without waking you first.
Lena nodded. Drugstore tomorrow, then, before the jeweler. At the registration desk, a man in an ordinary jacket waited his turn in line. When he reached the clerk, he asked for a room. The hotel was nearly full. One left, the clerk said. He took it. Then he slid a folded bill across the counter and asked a quiet question about 2 guests who had checked in earlier. The clerk glanced down, glanced up, and provided a floor and a room number with the practiced efficiency of someone who had answered that question before. Ham slid another bill across. He needed something on the same floor, as close as possible. The clerk typed, thought, typed again. Nothing tonight, he said, but tomorrow, 1 room opening up. Same floor, 2 doors down. Ham nodded once.
They came down late morning, unhurried. Lena had the watch on her wrist, the elastic support wrap already in place over it, bought from the small pharmacy off the lobby before breakfast. It looked exactly like what it was supposed to look like. A minor wrist complaint, the kind nobody notices or asks about. In the lobby, Ham was in a chair with a newspaper and a coffee, positioned with a natural view of the elevators and the main entrance. He watched them cross the lobby, assess the direction they were heading to make sure they weren't going back up soon. He folded the newspaper, stood, and took the elevator to the 9th floor. The drugstore had been straightforward. The jeweler was not. The selection ran to thin decorative chains, silver, gold, delicate things designed for pendants and sentiment. Nothing that would take daily tension, nothing that would survive being grabbed. Too thin, Marcus said, for the 3rd time. Too thin, the jeweler agreed, with decreasing enthusiasm for the conversation. They left.
Lena stopped in front of a gift and accessory shop 2 doors down, looked in the window for approximately 1 second, and went in. The shop had a wall of chains, the kind sold as accessories, thick and solid, metal that had no pretensions about being decorative, and bracelets, wide, flat, comfortable, the kind that sat flush against the wrist without shifting. Lena picked up 2 bracelets and handed one to Marcus, tried hers on, looked at it next to the watch. Bracelet here, she said. Watch in its normal position. Chain connects them. Short, just enough to keep the watch on hand without losing contact. She picked up a heavier chain from the rack. This one for belt to pocket. Backup. 2 of everything, Marcus said. 2 of everything, she agreed. They found the right lengths, the right clasps, paid cash, and left.
The casino floor hit them like a physical thing. Sound, light, the particular air that casinos manufacture to keep you comfortable and directionless. Slot machines ran their endless, cheerful conversation along every wall. Felt tables stretched in rows under low, warm light. Dealers moved with the unhurried precision of people who had done this 10,000 times and would do it 10,000 more. They bought stake coins at the cage and walked. Lena moved through it the way she moved through most things, taking it in completely, missing nothing. She paused at a craps table and watched 2 rounds without expression, stopped at a blackjack table and watched the dealer's hands, pulled Marcus toward a poker room and stood in the doorway for a moment just listening. The dealer at table 4 is rushing, she said quietly as they moved on. When they rush, they make small errors. Not useful for us, but interesting. How do you know he's rushing? The way he squares the deck, she said. Takes a good dealer 3 seconds. He's doing it in 1.5. Marcus looked back at the table.
They drifted through the floor slowly. No urgency. 2 tourists finding their bearings. She explained craps at the craps table in a voice low enough for only him. The pass line, the come bet, the odds, the only bets in the casino that approach mathematical fairness. The rest is decoration. And roulette? Roulette is beautiful and stupid, she said fondly. I love it. They stopped at a roulette table. 6 other players, a wheel that had just completed a spin. Lena studied it for a moment, then placed a single coin on 9. The wheel spun. The ball settled. She placed another coin on 9. The wheel spun. 9. The table paid out. She left it on the table, added another coin, pushed both onto 36. The wheel spun. 36. Marcus looked at her. She looked back at him with the expression of a child who has never done anything wrong in her life and finds the suggestion mildly offensive. He took her elbow and walked her away from the table with the firm calm of a man who has made a decision. You can't do that, he said. I won, she said. You won twice in a row, he said, at roulette. Casinos watch for exactly that. They have people whose only job is to watch for exactly that. I was just... Lena. 2 times, she said. It could be luck. It could be, he said. But it isn't, and they know it isn't. And if we want to come back tomorrow, we need to be considerably less obvious today.
She was quiet for a moment. So we make a plan, she said. We make a plan, he said. Losses between wins, different tables, different games, never the same number, never the same pattern. Okay, she said. Okay. She paused. Can I at least win a couple more times today? Just... No, he said. Small ones. No. She sighed with her whole body. They played slots for an hour, which Lena endured with visible patience, winning occasionally through pure chance, and finding this somehow more annoying than losing. Then lunch at the restaurant off the main floor. Proper food, unhurried, the casino noise reduced to a murmur through the glass. Then back in. Roulette first. Lena played 8 rounds, lost every one, and walked away from the table with the serene expression of someone who had made a point. Craps next. She played the pass line, lost steadily, and left.
Blackjack last. She found a table, sat down, and played 5 hands with the focused attention she usually reserved for problems worth solving. Lost all 5. Clean, convincing losses. Nothing dramatic. She stood up, collected her remaining chips, and turned to Marcus. Satisfied? She said, and walked past him toward the exit with the unhurried stride of someone who had just won an argument she'd technically lost. They went out onto the strip. Evening now. The light doing what Vegas light does, turning everything into something slightly more than itself. They walked without particular direction, shoulder to shoulder, the city performing around them. Back at the hotel, Lena kicked her shoes off at the door and fell onto the bed face up. Then she sat cross-legged on the bed and looked at the ceiling with the expression of someone doing arithmetic they find mildly depressing.
How much do we have? She said. Cash, about 3,000, Marcus said. Card, I can pull 10. Debit, 30. She was quiet for a moment. I have 6 on the card, she said, and 2 in the account. Just 2? Marcus said.
I'm a woman. I'd buy things. What's your excuse for the cash? He opened his mouth, closed it. We start with 3, she said, moving on. We leave with 5, maybe more. Nothing dramatic. Blackjack first, Marcus said. Most of the work there. Small plays to start. Build gradually. The big one at the end. I play, Lena said. You hold the watch. She glanced at him. Like we discussed. I'll need to move around the table, Marcus said. See what I need to see. Hand on your shoulder when it matters.
Don't hover, she said. Stand somewhere natural and look bored. I don't hover. Engineer thing, she said simply. We start small. Modest stakes. Win some, lose some. Then I push them up. Gradually. By the end, everything on the table. Everything? She looked at him. Everything, she said. Tomorrow, she said to the ceiling, we go to work. Tomorrow, Marcus agreed.
Ham sat in his room after midnight with his notebook open. He'd been sending reports when he had something worth sending, not on any schedule. Vince's instructions said every 4 hours. Ham sent when he decided to. Vince could complain about it later. The day had given him nothing useful. Drugstore, accessory shop, casino floor, lunch, more casino, the strip, back to the hotel. 2 people learning the layout, losing money at various tables with no pattern worth noting. He'd been close enough all day to hear most of what mattered. He reviewed his notes one more time before closing up, then stopped. The conversation from the room earlier. He'd been listening through the device under the desk. Money talk, casino plans, stakes building gradually. Routine enough that he'd moved past it. But one part. I play. You hold the watch, like we discussed. Walk around, see what you need. Come back. Hand on my shoulder when it matters.
He read it again. You hold the watch. Not you watch me. Not keep an eye on things. Hold it, specifically. And like we discussed, a method they'd already agreed on. Something with a name. Something that required him to be close, hand on her shoulder, having walked around first to see something. He sat back. People cheated casinos every way imaginable. He knew most of them. He closed the notebook without adding this part to any report. Vince would get it when Ham understood it himself.
The table had 4 other players and a dealer who moved with the bored efficiency of someone 3 hours into a 6-hour shift. Lena sat down, bought chips, arranged them with the unhurried attention of someone who knew what she was doing. Comfortable, unremarkable. Ham was at the slots, 2 machines to the right, facing away, watching everything. The first 2 hands Lena played straight. Won, lost 1. Third hand dealt. Marcus put his left hand on Lena's shoulder and reached his right hand down to the watch. The floor stopped. Lena blinked, looked around at the frozen table, the suspended dealer, the motionless players either side of her.
Dealer has 19, Marcus said quietly, already moving behind the felt. You have 16. He reached into the pack and swapped the cards in her hand. Ace for the 7. 20, she said, looking at her new hand. 20, he confirmed. He straightened up and looked at his own position. Left hand on her shoulder, right hand at his wrist. Both arms occupied, the angle stiff and visible to anyone paying attention. This doesn't work, he said. Too obvious. Both hands tied up, wrong angle. So? Next time I keep you frozen, he said. Easier, cleaner. Nobody to talk to, but the job gets done. I prefer being awake, she said. I know,
he said, "but you're a liability when you're awake." She turned and looked at him. "You're welcome," he said, and touched the watch. The world came back. Lena looked at her cards with the composed expression of someone who had definitely not just had a conversation in a stopped casino. Dealer busted. Chips came back. Next deal, Marcus kept both hands relaxed at his sides. Let the hand drop to watch, activated. Walked to the dealer, to Lena. Swapped cards directly from her hand this time. No shoulder. No visible trigger. Just a man standing behind his partner, barely moving. Marcus leaned down. "Full stake whenever you're ready." She pushed everything forward. The dealer dealt. Lena sat with 20 against the dealer's bust. The chips came back doubled. They collected and moved away from the table at a natural pace. Nothing rushed. Marcus's hands back in his pockets. Lena stacking chips into her bag with the focused calm of someone counting groceries. Ham drifted away from the slots and followed at a distance. On the way to the roulette table, Lena slowed slightly and spoke without turning her head. "Let me breathe here," she said quietly. "Win, lose, win, lose. I want the full show. 0 at the end." "How long?" "Long enough to enjoy it," she said.
She played roulette for 2 hours. It was, by any measure, a performance. She won prettily, lost gracefully, built tension with her stake sizes in a way that drew a small crowd of watchers who didn't know they were watching something choreographed. Marcus stood nearby, hand finding her shoulder at moments that looked purely affectionate. Ham stood at the edge of the crowd. He watched Marcus's hands. The watch, the timing of it against the wheel, against the cards, against the moments things went right. He wasn't certain yet, but something was forming, a shape without a name. He needed more. They left the table ahead, more than they'd come in with. Lena didn't look back. Lunch was unhurried. They ate, rested, let the morning settle. Late afternoon, they walked to a different casino. Fresh floor, fresh staff, no pattern established yet. Craps was harder. The dice had to be in motion before anything could be done with them. No clean moment like a card or a ball. Marcus solved it the way engineers solve problems. Practically. When the table paused between rolls, he set the dice against the rail under the guise of steadying them. Positioned as needed. When play resumed, they dropped the way he'd left them. Mostly. Not always perfectly. The physics of a craps table weren't completely forgiving. But enough. More than enough. But he said no more craps when they finished. Roulette again to finish. Lena played it like she owned the wheel, which for practical purposes she did. 0 at the end, as promised. The ball dropping into it with the quiet indifference of a thing that had no idea what it had just done. They cashed out. "How much?" Marcus said at the cage. Lena looked at the chips, at the cash, at Marcus. "More than 5, she said. "How much more?" She smiled. Ham sent his report at midnight. Detailed, accurate, comprehensive. Minus one thing. He sat with his notebook after and looked at what he hadn't sent. The watch, the hands, the timing. The pattern that wasn't a pattern until you'd watched it long enough and from the right angle. He still didn't know how, but he was closer than he'd been that morning. He closed the notebook. Tomorrow, he'd be closer still. Lena sat as usual, cross-legged on the bed, with the casino map open on her phone. "Tonight we plan," she said. "Tomorrow we work." Marcus sat in the chair. How much do we need before Baccarat? 300, she said. Maybe a bit more. Comfortable cushion. One day? We have 24 hours if we use them properly, she said. Sleep is optional. Marcus looked at her. The watch, she said simply. We sleep, world doesn't move. We wake up fresh. Full day and full night on the strip if we want it. Different casinos, Marcus said. Never the same table twice in one visit. Obviously, she said. We move, we win modestly, we move again. By morning, we have what we need. She set the phone down. Then, Baccarat. I don't know Baccarat, he said. I'll teach you in the morning, she said. It takes about 10 minutes. Maybe 15 for you. Why 15 for me?
Engineer brain, she said. You'll want to understand why the rules are the rules. They just are. It will bother you. He almost argued. Didn't. Ham sat with his notebook and read back what he'd just heard. The watch. Sleep. World doesn't move. 24 hours. He put his pen down. He'd been turning it over for 2 days. The shoulder, the hands, the timing, the winds. The conversation in the first room. You hold the watch, like we discussed. Now this. He didn't know the mechanism, didn't know the how, but the what was clear enough. The watch did something. Something that gave them an advantage no casino was built to defend against. He closed the notebook without writing anything. Vince could wait.
They hit the strip at 10 that night and didn't stop. 7 casinos over 14 hours. Blackjack, roulette, craps, slots for cover. Never greedy, never obvious, always moving before the wins accumulated into a pattern anyone would flag. Marcus had stopped thinking about it as cheating somewhere around the 3rd casino. It felt more like solving the same problem repeatedly with a very good tool. Lena was extraordinary at it. She knew when to lose, how much, and made it look completely natural. She tipped well, chatted with dealers, ordered drinks she didn't finish. By 4 a.m, she was running on something that wasn't quite adrenaline, but lived in the same neighborhood. They slept for 5 hours without the world moving an inch. Woke up fresh.
Baccarat, Lena said over coffee. 2 hands, Lena said. Player and banker. You pick which one gets closer to 9. That's the whole game. What pays what? Player or banker. Even money. Banker takes a small commission. Tie pays 8-1, but it almost never happens. Almost, Marcus said. Almost, she agreed, and looked at him. Cards sit in the shoe before the deal. Fixed order. If someone knew what was coming, they'd know what to bet, Marcus said. Before the dealer touches anything, she said. Yes. You walk around during a frozen moment, you see everything, she said. You come back and tell me what to bet. But I can't tell you. They... Right, Lena interrupted him. We need a signal. I sit with both palms flat on the table. She said, you stand behind me. You move my right hand to the right. Banker. You move my left hand to the left. Player. You put one hand on top of the other. Tie. I see my hand move. Don't move if we need to lose. I bet accordingly. Tie pays 8-1, Marcus said slowly. 8-1, she confirmed. So 50,000 on tie is 400,000, she said. Yes. He sat with that for a moment. 15 minutes, she said. Told you. They talked for a while longer. Numbers. How to build the stake gradually. When to take planned losses and how many. At what point to walk.
how to leave the room looking like luck rather than certainty. The watch, Marcus said. I need it in my hand every time before a bet. Wrist is too slow and too visible. Pocket, she said. Breast pocket. Chain showing. You reach in, disconnect, hold it wherever feels natural.
Hands at my side, behind my back. Pants pocket, she said. Anywhere. Nobody watches a man's hands when he's just standing. Old-fashioned, he said, looking at the chain. Very you, she said. Ham heard enough now. The watch is the mechanism. That much is certain. It does something that makes Marcus invisible or undetectable long enough to see the dealer's cards. Hypnosis doesn't quite fit. Too unpredictable, too dependent on the subject. Some kind of technology? Jamming? Optical? Nothing he knows of works like this. But the how doesn't matter yet. What matters is the watch. Get the watch. Make them explain it. In that order. The opportunity will come. They're comfortable now. Winning, celebrating. Comfortable people make mistakes. He'll wait. The high roller room was everything the main floor wasn't. Quiet, carpeted, 4 tables under warm light. The kind of room where chips had more zeros than seemed reasonable, and nobody raised their voice. They bought in with $50,000. The pit boss, a compact man in his 50s, lapel pin reading Garrett, noted them with the professional attention of someone paid to find things unremarkable. Young couple, well-dressed. He'd seen them on the main floor yesterday. Won some, lost more. He noted them and moved on. Lena sat down at a table with 4 other players. To her left, a middle-aged man in a gray suit who arranged his chips with the careful attention of someone playing with money he'd thought about bringing home. To her right, a woman in her 40s, quiet, focused, the kind of player who doesn't talk and doesn't need to. 2 others further along the table, less memorable. The dealer nodded. Everyone settled. Lena looked around the table with the warm, unhurried attention of someone who had just sat down at a dinner party and liked what she saw. First time in this room, she said. It's quieter than I expected. She looked at the gray suit man. Is it always like this? Usually, he said, and almost smiled. I like it, she decided. Marcus stood behind her, jacket on, chain just visible at his breast pocket. He reached in casually, felt the watch, activated. Then disconnected the chain, let the watch settle in his palm, hand dropping naturally to his side. Chain stayed in the pocket. To anyone looking, watch still there. Lena placed both palms flat on the felt, close together. Her left hand slid left. She put 10,000 on player without hesitation. The dealer dealt. Player, 7. Banker, 5. Player 1. Oh, Lena said, with the expression of someone genuinely surprised by good news. Hello. The gray suit man smiled despite himself. Next hand, Marcus stood still, arms loose at his sides, watch cupped in his right palm facing inward. Her right hand moved right. 15,000 on banker. Banker 1. Running total, 75,000. Next hand, her hand stayed still. Banker again, Lena announced to nobody in particular, and put 12,000 on banker. Lost. Or not, she said cheerfully. The gray suit man laughed. She ordered champagne, thanked the server by name after reading his badge, which made him stand slightly straighter for the rest of the evening. The next hour moved the way good hours move. Lena won, lost, won again, kept the table in the easy warmth she'd established from the first hand. She asked the dealer about the busiest night of the week. She commiserated with the gray suit man, whose name turned out to be Gerald, when he lost 2 hands in a row. Gerald, she said seriously,
I want you to know that statistically, this is completely normal and also means nothing about you as a person. Gerald laughed properly this time. Even the quiet woman to Lena's right briefly stopped being quiet. Marcus moved when he needed to, watch in his palm, at his side, then slipped into his pants pocket, then back, then tucked against his body with arms crossed briefly. A man standing behind his partner in various comfortable positions. Nothing more. By the end of the first hour, they were sitting at 85,000. More champagne? Lena asked Marcus. Water, he said. She turned to the table. He's always sensible, she said. I find it both reassuring and mildly irritating. Story of marriage, Gerald said. We're not, Marcus started. Not yet, Lena said pleasantly, and put her next bet down. The table laughed. Marcus said nothing. Gerald looked at him with the sympathetic expression of a man who recognized the particular situation Marcus was in. Play continued. Marcus asked to bring more chips. 200,000. Two moderate hands. Lena's hands moved normally. Wins and losses, the table breathing easily. Third hand. Both her hands, one on top of the other. She looked at her chips, picked up a stack, put 200,000 on tie. The room changed temperature. The pit boss, Garrett, was beside the table in 4 steps. The quiet woman looked at the bet and then at Lena with an expression that had abandoned its previous neutrality entirely. Gerald stared at the chips. That's a big feeling, the dealer said, professionally neutral. Enormous, Lena confirmed, and sipped her champagne. The cards fell. Tie. 1,600,000 came back across the felt in a stack that required 2 separate pushes. Now they have total 1,695,000. The table was silent. Oh, Lena said, in exactly the same tone as the first hand. Hello. Gerald made a sound that wasn't quite a word. Garrett was now a permanent presence beside the table. 2 men had appeared at the edge of the room. The other players had largely stopped playing and were watching. Marcus felt the room's attention settle on them like a change in weather. Next hand. Watch palmed, hand hanging at his side. He walked the shoe. Nothing good coming. Her hand stayed still. She looked at the enormous stack in front of her, looked at Banker, put 400,000 on it. Big feeling? Gerald asked cautiously. Medium feeling, she said. Banker lost. She didn't flinch. Ordered another champagne. Asked the quiet woman if she wanted anything, which surprised the quiet woman enough that she ordered something after all. Next hand. Nothing from Marcus. 400,000 on player.
Lost. Running total, 895,000. Garrett's expression hadn't changed, but something behind it had relaxed very slightly. The sea giveth, Lena said philosophically, and the sea taketh away. She looked at what remained. One more round. Garrett's expression hadn't changed, but something behind it had relaxed very slightly. Marcus leaned forward. Let's stop, he said quietly. One more, Lena said. Lena. One tiny one. No. 200. No. 110. Silence. Fine, he said. She looked at her hands on the felt.
Left moved. She picked up 110,000 in chips and put them on player. The dealer dealt. Player won. Running total, 1,005,000. Lena sat for a moment, looking at what was in front of her with the expression of someone doing quiet arithmetic and finding it satisfactory. She turned to Gerald. "It was genuinely lovely playing with you," she said warmly. "You have a very calming presence. I mean that sincerely." He looked slightly dazed. "Thank you," he managed. She turned to the quiet woman. "And you," she said, "have excellent posture. The whole game. I kept noticing." The quiet woman blinked. "Thank you," she said, in a voice suggesting she hadn't used it much that evening. She turned to the dealer. "Beautiful hands," she said, "very elegant the whole time." "Thank you, miss," the dealer said. She stood up. Marcus helped her with her jacket. She picked up her bag. Garrett stepped forward. "Miss," he said pleasantly, "remarkable evening." "Wasn't it?" she agreed. They walked out.
The casino's hospitality manager met them at the door. A suite on the 40th floor. Complimentary. Meals, bar, anything they needed. A car if they wanted it. The Bellagio's way of saying, "We'd like you to stay, and we'd like to watch you more closely." How kind, Lena said. The new suite was 3 times the size of the previous room. Lena walked a full circuit immediately, which Marcus had come to understand was just how she entered spaces. "They're watching us," Marcus said. "Of course they are," she said, opening the minibar. "We just won $1 million. We need to be more careful tomorrow. We need to be different tomorrow," she said. "Not more careful, different. New approach, new pattern." She handed him a small bottle of something expensive. "Tonight, we celebrate." He looked at the suite. The city spread 40 floors below, lit up and indifferent. "We won $1 million, he said. It was the first time he'd said it out loud. 1,005,000, she said. The 5 matters. He laughed. She climbed onto the enormous bed, spread her arms wide, and looked at the ceiling with an expression of pure, uncomplicated satisfaction. "Tomorrow," she said, sitting on the edge of the enormous bed, "we go back." "How much?" "Big," she said simply. "First hand sets the tone." "How big?" She looked at the ceiling. 500 on tie to start." "To start?" he said. "I have a feeling about tomorrow," Lena said. "You always have a feeling." "And I'm always right," she said. "Good night." They bought in with 1 million. Same room, different table. Garrett was there. He'd been expecting them. Lena sat, placed her palms flat on the felt. Her hands stayed still. She put 200,000 on banker. Lost. Running total, 800,000. Next hand. Marcus stood behind her, reached into his breast pocket, took out the watch, glanced at it. Activated. Disconnected the chain, watch into his palm, walked to the shoe. He didn't just look at the next hand this time. He reached in carefully and arranged the cards. Player and banker, both getting cards that would tie. Then walked back, hand at his side, watch invisible in his palm. Lena looked at her hands, both one on top of the other. She moved chips, most of them, 500,000. She pushed everything onto tie. The room had seen her do this before. The same 2 men appeared at the edge of the room. Garrett drifted closer. 2 new faces Marcus hadn't seen yesterday joined them.
The dealer dealt. The cards that Marcus had arranged fell exactly as placed. Tie. 4 million on the felt, plus the 500,000 stake returned. Running total, 4,800,000. The room was very quiet. Lena looked at the chips with the expression of someone who had expected this and still found it satisfying. "Hello," she said softly. Next hand. 500,000 on banker. Lost. Running total, 4 million. Next. Same. Lost. One more 500,000 loss on banker. Running total, 3 million. Lena looked at 1 million in chips, picked them up, and pushed them forward. Marcus leaned down. "No," he said quietly. "Yes," she said, equally quietly. "Lena, we're up 3 million. Let's—" "One hand," she said. "That's $1 million. I'm aware of what $1 million is, Marcus." "Are you? Because you're about to—" "One hand." She looked at him with the particular expression that ended discussions. "Please." He straightened up, said nothing, which meant yes. Her right hand moved right. 1 million on banker. Banker won. She didn't look at him. He didn't say anything. The chips came back, and she stacked them with quiet satisfaction.
Next hand. 2 million forward.
"Absolutely not," Marcus said.
"I'm just $2 million, Lena. It's... No." She turned and looked at him. He looked back. The table watched with the fascinated attention of people witnessing something that had stopped being about gambling. "Fine," he said finally, with the tone of a man who knows he has already lost. "Do what you want." Her left hand moved left. 2 million on player. Player won. Running total, 6 million. Marcus stood very still behind her. "Thank you," she said pleasantly, to nobody in particular.
3 hands. Her hands stayed still each time. Planned losses, modest stakes. 3 million gone. Running total, 3 million. She looked at what remained, looked at her hands on the felt. Both moved, one on top of the other. 1 million onto tie. Marcus said nothing this time, just put his hand in his pocket and stood still. Garrett took out his phone. The cards fell. Tie. 8 million came back across the felt, plus the million stake. Running total, 11 million. The table didn't react this time. The room had gone past the point where reaction seemed adequate.
Garrett stepped forward. "Mr. Chen, Miss Greenwell," he said pleasantly. "Remarkable session." "Wasn't it?" Lena agreed. "We'd like to have a conversation," he said, "if you don't mind." "About?" "Just a conversation," he said. The smile hadn't changed, but something behind it had become considerably more serious. Lena looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Garrett. "Of course," Marcus said. The room they were taken to was quiet and comfortable, in the way that rooms designed for uncomfortable conversations tend to be. 2 sofas, a low table, no windows. Garrett sat across from them. "You've had an extraordinary 2 sessions," Garrett said. "We've been lucky," Lena said. 3 tie bets, Garrett said, across 2 sessions. All correct. "Lucky," Lena said again, with the serene composure of someone who had decided on a word and intended to use it exclusively.
Garrett stepped forward. "Mr. Chen, Miss Greenwell," he said pleasantly. "Remarkable session." "Wasn't it?" Lena agreed. "We'd like to have a conversation," he said, "if you don't mind." "About?" "Just a conversation," he said. The smile hadn't changed, but something behind it had become considerably more serious. Lena looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at Garrett. "Of course," Marcus said. The room they were taken to was quiet and comfortable in the way that rooms designed for uncomfortable conversations tend to be. 2 sofas, a low table, no windows. Garrett sat across from them. "You've had an extraordinary 2 sessions," Garrett said. "We've been lucky," Lena said. 3 tie bets, Garrett said, across 2 sessions, all correct. "Lucky," Lena said again, with the serene composure of someone who had decided on a word and intended to use it exclusively. "The odds of that," Garrett said, "are considerable." "Luck doesn't consult odds," she said. "That's rather the point of it." Garrett looked at her for a moment, then at Marcus, then back. "We can't process the full amount tonight," he said. 11 million requires certain procedures. We can settle 5 million now, the remainder tomorrow. Or, he added, you're welcome to continue playing tomorrow, as our guests. The suite, meals, everything covered." "That's very generous," Marcus said carefully. "We'd like you to stay," Garrett said simply. A beat. 5 million tonight, Lena said. The rest tomorrow. "Of course," Garrett said. The security office was 3 floors up from the high roller room. 4 analysts, 12 monitors, and 40 hours of footage by the time the senior investigator arrived at midnight. They started with the Baccarat footage. The playing pattern was the first thing, methodical, almost architectural in its structure. Losses clustered in groups, wins precise and deliberate. 3 tie bets across 2 sessions, all correct. The probability of that was a number nobody wanted to say out loud. The woman played. The man stood behind her, always close, always the same position relative to the table. That was noted and flagged. Then someone found the drag. Frame by frame, 3 times across the 2 sessions, a fraction of a second where the footage seemed to stutter. Not a cut, not a technical failure, just a barely perceptible discontinuity, the kind of thing you'd miss watching at normal speed. The man's position shifting by a few inches between one frame and the next, with no visible movement connecting them. They ran it through enhancement. Ran it again. Clean footage. No interference. No splice. The senior investigator watched it a 5th time and said nothing for a while. "Get them back tomorrow," he said finally. "Same table. I want 6 cameras on the man. Every angle. Every hand. And if we still can't find anything?" He looked at the monitor, at the footage, at the almost imperceptible drag that shouldn't exist in a clean recording. "Then we find something else," he said.
Garrett met them at the entrance to the high roller room the next morning with the pleasant expression of a man who had spent the night preparing for this conversation. The conditions were simple. Scan before entry, both of them. Marcus to stand 5 steps back from the table, facing Lena. Hands visible at all times. No pockets. No talking between them during play. "And the winnings?" Marcus said. "You can play them," Garrett said. "They're yours, all of it. We just want a clean game." "Of course," Lena said pleasantly. But without the shoe, without the cards arranged, without her hands moving to tell her anything, it was just Lena and the table, and whatever luck actually looked like when you left it alone. It looked like losing, mostly. Cheerfully, conversationally, with full commitment. She chatted with the new dealer, made Gerald, who had apparently come back, whether out of loyalty or morbid curiosity was unclear, laugh twice. Lost steadily and without distress.
The way someone loses when they've already decided the money isn't the point. By the third hour, they had 30,000 left. She looked at it, put 20,000 on player. Her hand moved slightly to the left on the felt. Old habit. Nothing moved it back. Player won. She collected 50,000, stood up, smoothed her jacket, and smiled at the table. Lovely as always, she said.
Outside the room, Garrett fell into step beside them. "Leaving?" he said. "For now," Lena said. "We hope you'll come back," he said. And meant it, which was the most interesting thing about it. "I'm sure we will," she said. They walked through the lobby and out into the Vegas morning, $50,000 richer than they'd started, and $6 million waiting at the cage. "Well," Lena said, squinting into the sun. "Well," Marcus said. "We're not actually lucky," she said. "No," he said. "Good to know," she said, and put her sunglasses on. In the morning, they bought a car cash from a private seller. Nothing flashy, reliable for a long drive. Loaded the bags. $6 million in a case that looked like any other case. LA first, Lena said, looking at the map. Then north, Marcus said, along the coast. See what's out there. We're looking for somewhere, she said. We'll know it when we see it, he said. She looked at him. That's very unlike you. I'm adjusting, he said. They drove out of Vegas as the morning heat was just beginning to make the air shimmer above the highway. The city disappeared in the mirror quickly, the way cities do when you stop needing them. Ham watched them load the car from the parking structure across the street, waited until they were inside the casino settling the account, crossed to the car, crouched at the rear wheel well, pressed the tracker into place. 40 seconds. Back to his own car before they came out. He didn't notice the small device already attached to his own rear bumper. They made 2 stops on the way. Gas and food, nothing memorable. The ocean appeared somewhere past LA and stayed with them, gray and enormous, the highway running alongside it through the afternoon. By evening, the road had thinned out. A motel appeared. Low building, empty parking lot, a gas station next door that doubled as the only other thing for miles. Lena looked at the motel through the windshield for a moment. It isn't the Bellagio, she said. No, Marcus said. But, she opened the car door. It has a roof. It has a roof, he agreed. They got out and took a room. They'd been inside less than a minute when the door opened. Ham came in with a gun in his hand. No hesitation. Just inside, door closed. Don't move, he said. Either of you. He positioned himself with his back to the wall, both of them in his sight. Hands where I see him. He looked at Marcus. Where is the watch? Pants pocket, Marcus said. Pull the chain only, Hans said. Don't touch the watch. Come to me slowly, hands stretched forward. Marcus reached into his pocket carefully, pulled the chain, watch dangling from it, hand extended forward. Ham took the watch. I know about Vegas, he said. I know that the watch made possible. I know that much. Marcus said nothing. Ham pointed his gun at the floor beside Lena's feet and fired. The sound was enormous in the small room. Next one is her foot, he said. Then her hand. Any delay, I start. Marcus told him. All of it. The button, the hands, the duration, the air, the recharge. Everything. Ham listened without expression. When Marcus finished, he was quiet for a moment, looking at the watch in his hand. Ham listened without expression. When Marcus finished,
He looked at the watch in his hand for a moment, then at Lena, then at Marcus.
Marcus saw his eyes. "You have the watch," he said quietly. "Let her go. Take 5 million, more. She knows nothing. She's no danger to you." "With this," Ham said, "I don't need your money." He paused. "And I can't let either of you go." A gunshot. Lena screamed. Marcus saw Ham turn the gun toward him in what felt like a separate, slower version of time. Felt something he had no word for. Despair and rage arriving simultaneously, filling every space inside him at once, with nothing he could do about any of it.
Thank you so much for listening to Part 3. If you want to know what happens to Marcus and Lena next, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and drop a comment below. Your support keeps this story moving forward. See you in the next part.